Good day. It's April 29th, 2010, and today's topic will be the British election, which is due to be scheduled for May the 6th. Beginning, we will be talking about the two debates that have already happened between the prime ministerial candidates from the Conservative, Labour, and Liberal Democrat parties. In the first debate, which aired about 2 weeks ago, in what was the nation's first ever primetime debate between candidates for prime minister, almost all consensus says that Liberal Democrat candidate Nick Clegg walked away with it, and that in the second debate it was a much more closer contest between the Conservatives' David Cameron and again Nick Clegg. However, while the incumbent Prime Minister of the Labour Party, Gordon Brown, is not viewed to have won either debate, he's looked at as having done quite poorly in the first one and coming back a bit on the second one, and that is logical given the fact that on the second debate topic, which was issues like the war in Afghanistan, the incumbent government should be more knowledgeable and better able to explain its position. And Gordon Brown did sound quite tough. He sounded similar to the American point of view on needing to stay in Afghanistan and not pull away, because if we pulled away, we would be leaving an unstable, unsure situation in Afghanistan. Nick Clegg was poked at by the Prime Minister for not being pro-American. That was the accusation that was thrown to him. He was also criticized for wanting to replace Trident, which is their Britain's nuclear weapons shield, and the Conservatives did well on this issue because traditionally the Conservative Party is the party of defense. It's only been since the days of Tony Blair and New Labour that Labour has become more even-footed on defense, as Tony Blair took Britain into at least 3 wars: Iraq, Afghanistan, and one of the wars in the late 90s. Opinion polls since Gordon Brown went to Buckingham Palace to seek dissolution of Parliament by the Queen have shown that the Labour Party usually is behind the Conservative and Liberal Democrat parties, usually at around 28% support. The Liberal Democrats, ever since April 15th debate, where Nick Clegg surprised everyone and did very well, have shown Liberal Democrats at 30%, little more, little less, depending on the day and the poll. And the Conservatives have usually held steady at around 32 to 34% in that area. But this has been since the debate. And while the Conservatives in most polls have stayed ahead of Labour and Liberal Democrats, they have had a narrowing of their lead, and at times not only have been behind Liberal Democrats, but have been ahead in other polls of Liberal Democrats and Labour. So the Tories usually are secure in the first place finish in the polls. Labour and Liberal Democrats have gone back and forth, but so here's an irony that is similar to 2000's presidential election in the United States, where then Texas Governor George W. Bush very narrowly lost the popular vote by only 500,000 roughly out of over 100 million. He lost popular vote but won the electoral vote nationally and thus became president of the United States, while Al Gore of the Democratic Party very narrowly won the popular vote but still was denied the presidency. What we could see is the third place finisher, as it looks right now according to the traditionally more accurate YouGov polls, shows that the Prime Minister Gordon Brown's Labour Party could finish third and have the most seats out of the other two parties. This has to come as quite a shock and quite a blow to David Cameron of the Conservatives, who, despite constantly being ahead in the polls, and with the exception of the few polls that have had the Liberal Democrats ahead in the past 2 weeks, with those exceptions, the Conservatives have been ahead in almost every other poll since about 2008, since around early 2008. Labour has been ahead in no serious polls in roughly 2 years, almost the entire tenure of this Prime Minister. And it's also interesting to look at the fact that we could be seeing quite a collapse in the Labour vote, similar to the 2009 elections for the EU positions, where the Labour Party finished third place, the Conservatives finished second, and one of the third parties, the United Kingdom Independence Party, known as UKIP, finished first. Oh no, that's not true. My mistake. The Conservatives finished first, UKIP finished second, and Labour finished third. But what we're the next part of this discussion is what would a new parliament look like following the May 6th vote? Right now, the odds are that there will be a hung parliament, and for those not from Britain, a hung parliament is a parliament consisting of all the members elected, but that no one party has more than 50% of the seats, and therefore something called a minority government could be created where they're outnumbered when you put all the other parties together, but they're able to get enough support for their legislation to hold on without a coalition. In 1977, Labour Prime Minister James Callaghan worked with the Liberal Party in what was called a Lib-Lab Pact, and he didn't officially form a two-party coalition government as such, but worked with the Liberal Party and was able to survive in government with their help, and then later other smaller parties was able to stay in government for nearly 2 years despite having lost an overall majority because of by-elections. Uh, there's very good likelihood that this will be Gordon Brown's last election as the leader of the Labour Party because of his unpopularity among the voters, and even if Labour gets the most seats in a hung parliament situation, the Liberal Democrats have basically said they want, without being official about it, but they act as if they want Gordon Brown to stand down from that position and have somebody else replace him as the leader of Labour and Prime Minister, or they won't agree to an unofficial or official coalition government. The Liberal Democrats, as they are not a party of the right or the center right in American or British understanding of politics, would probably least likely be interested in forming a government with the Conservative Party. So it looks as if, regardless of what is said by the Liberal Democrats now, that they will work with Labour and that they will throw out the window the credibility that they are different from the two old parties, as they often describe it, that they want to bring fresh change and things of that sort. Labour has been in office since 1997. They've grown increasingly disliked, and the question is, even if Labour promises to pursue some of the Liberal Democrat reform ideas, and while in that regard there could be change, how is it really refreshing and new to help keep an old government that's not well liked, that finishes in third place in the popular vote? How's that refreshing? It's not. What the Liberal Democrats should do is form a government with the Conservatives or allow for a minority government. My preference is a minority government so that the Conservatives don't have to give many concessions. And the key discussion for Liberal Democrats in this campaign is electoral reform. They believe that the House of Lords should have all of its hereditary peers removed. It should become an elected body. But that's not the key controversy, as many in the Labour Party also support this, and some Conservatives support that. The main controversy is, should the House of Commons become a proportionally elected body, which means that if one party gets 30% of the vote, another one gets 35%, another one 15, for example, that's how many seats they automatically get. Currently, it's not that way. What is the current system is, on an individual basis, in each seat, whoever wins gets that seat. Liberal Democrats want you to have a different situation to ensure fairness. But this kind of fairness would bring a lot of trouble for the country because we would have a lot of hung parliaments, a lot of division, it would be harder to get things done, and you'd have to have too much compromise. Anyways, thank you for watching and good day.